The mainstream media is being deservedly criticized for its overwhelmingly negative coverage of newly elected American President Donald Trump. Now, it's one thing to claim that there is a bias there, and that bias has manifested itself in brazen record numbers of fake news stories championed by everybody from CNN to the Washington Post. But to show you how bad the bias is, a new analysis has been done of the coverage that was leveled against Trump for the previous month of February, and it turns out that roughly 88% of the articles were overwhelmingly negative. I'll repeat, 88% of the coverage was negative against Trump. Now, if the coverage had not been so negative, the shock by the media of the overwhelming positive reaction to his first speech before the U.S. Congress would not exist. In fact, if the coverage of Trump were positive prior to that speech, Trump's speech would have been dismissed as nothing new. Instead, the media bent over backwards and fell all over themselves to point out that this was just amazing, incredible. They actually liked his speech. So, as the pendulum continues to swing from left to right, from right to left, it is no wonder that a recent survey done by Rasmussen Reports shows that CNN, of all news entities, is now considered the least trustworthy of all the major networks, and that Fox television network is considered the most reliable, even though it doesn't bother hiding its right-wing bias. So what you're seeing is a warning shot or a warning message to basically the mainstream and the left-wing liberal component of the media and the political spectrum. As none other than Van Jones has pointed out, and he's a person who supports the left wing as well as so-called progressives. He's even been pro-communist in the past. He is an analyst on CNN who has warned the left-wing media and the Democrats that if they don't change their act almost immediately, they will eventually become irrelevant very soon, and that they will continue to empower Republicans to control the narrative and the increasingly conservative far-right part of the political spectrum to continue to gain power. We must remember that out of the 50 states that comprise the United States of America, over 30 of them are controlled by governors now who are Republicans. The Democrats have lost everything across the board. They have suffered worse political defeats than they have ever experienced before, going back to the time of the Civil War. Yes, they're that talented. And one can argue that in recent political times, easily within the last 100+ years, Hillary Clinton has proven to be the biggest political loser. She did everything right to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So, the Democrats, because of their special talent for imploding, they lost the Congress, they lost the Senate, they've lost the White House, they've lost the governors, and increasingly they're now beginning to lose at the state legislation level. Add all that together, and even if the Democrats did get their act together now, as I'm broadcasting this, it would still be many years before you would see the fruits of that labor, and that would assume that the Democrats would do nothing stupid between now and by the time they turn their ship around, and that's just not going to happen.